Week 11 in the CFL. Guys, welcome into Coast to Coast. Andrew and Bobby with you. We've got a handful of games to break down. As always, Red Black Stamps, Alouettes, Rough Riders, Elks, Tiger Cats, and the game everyone's talking about now, the Blue Bombers and the BC Lions. Nathan Rourke is back in the CFL, at least for another 3 years. Who would have thought on a Tuesday afternoon, CFL dominating headlines, at least obviously in Canada, probably not in America, but we're seeing a lot about the CFL. Bobby, welcome in. Good to see you as always.
Yeah, good to be here. I thought the big news of the day was WestJet coming on as a sponsor to the league, but looks like they were outdone. They should have hidden that news dump right after the Nathan Rourke story broke.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a dull moment in the CFL, and you'd think for a 9-man league they'd be able to have some calm days, but there's always something going on. And I'm a little bit disappointed for the fact that I feel like it's the NBA sometimes where we're not handicapping the game, we're handicapping who's playing. Everybody I know that bets on the NBA during the regular season, they're figuring out the load management, the injuries. Half the handicap is figuring out who's going to play, and you've been pretty good at deciding who those people are and figuring out those quarterbacks. But if you go down the list right now, for all these games we have this week, there's a handful of teams, if not one team in every single matchup, where we're trying to figure out who is the starting quarterback here. So you wanted to start the show off before we got into all these breakdowns and all of our picks, which we have been having a lot of success between the two of us over the past few weeks, by telling us who you think all the starting quarterbacks will be. Let's hear it.
Well, until I'm proven wrong once, I don't think it's who I think. I think it's what's going to happen, right?
I like it.
So
Okay.
You've got Ottawa. They'll have Masoli. You've got Mayer for Calgary. We'll go down to Montreal, Saskatchewan. So Saskatchewan's got Trevor Harris back. No matter what Corey May says that there's a chance he could play, of course he's going to play. You've got Montreal. Now, this one was an interesting one because practice, I think it's going on right now, and Davis Alexander isn't there, but apparently it's a personal day. Shinetti said during the broadcast that it's likely next week for Fajardo, so I still think it's Davis Alexander there. Edmonton, you've got MBT back, which I don't really think affects the line that much. Hamilton, you've got a coach losing control and naming the starter 2 minutes after the game ends with Taylor Powell. Winnipeg got Caleros, finally some consistency, and now you got the news today. And I think like this line is moving so much that maybe we should be starting off with this, because it does look like Nathan Rourke is going to start. He's going to get the first team reps tomorrow. I can see that in the future. Also, the Moj already reported that. So it's going to be Rourke this week. And why not? Like Dolegal is nothing special. And we saw that again this weekend.
Great stuff. Yeah, I love that. You're like, no, I'm not predicting. I'm going to be right about who these quarterbacks are. It's so crazy because every year it happens, and it pains me to say this for a league that I support, I bet on, and that's probably half the reason why I support it so much. But there's so much of a downgrade from QB1 to QB2 on every team. There really is. And then, of course, as bettors, it's our job to try and figure out the point spreads and where the value holds. But it's too bad we can't go 8 weeks without like 3 quarterbacks going down, And I know we want to go in order, but you mentioned about BC adding Rourke, and then we'll talk about Trey Ford there too. To me, it bothers me because it's good to have a mobile quarterback, but your mobile quarterbacks have to know how to throw the ball away, Bobby. They do. And it just pained me to watch it because Trey Ford, he's not even that fast. He's just elusive. He's just agile. He knows how to kind of move around. And sometimes you have to know, I'm not going to be able to make a play out of this. But he didn't make a play. He took a hit, and he goes off and he's injured. So you got to think to yourself, hey, I want to be a team guy. I want to look like that guy that's willing to do anything for my team. But you're not going to be able to do anything for your team if you aren't out there with your team. So it's frustrating to watch, and I'm sure it's frustrating for all these guys. But if it's cool with you, we will start in order just for the purposes of the viewers. But we can go back. Right. You want to go in you wanted to go in reverse, you're saying? You want to start
Oh
with
no, I
BC?
just I could start with work, but it's the
Okay, okay.
CFL. We don't need to be on like minute to minute. It's not like the NFL where it's second to second. So
No, no, no,
these
no.
numbers will still be there.
No, no, I understand. We'll go in reverse order this week. BC, we're now seeing +1 home underdogs, and they were +3.5 before. So it's our job to figure out how much this move really matters. What do you think about it?
All right, so like this was something I had prepared already. I put out BC. I was ready to bet BC at 3.5 with Dolagala. That line's long gone now, but let's take the 1.5 right now. So if you just want to break down, I think this is a huge over adjustment, and I think it still might be, even with work playing, because this line was BC. They were favored by 4.5 at Winnipeg like 10 days ago, right? So if you're on a neutral, what is that, 7.5? The key number you're going through, not as much in the CFL, but
Yeah.
that means like 9.5. They would be at home. Instead, they're 3.5 dogs with Dolagala starting a 13-point adjustment. Are you adjusting 13 points for a few linebacker injuries and VA to Dolagala? I don't think so. We saw that week 1 with Dukes starting for the Argos getting an over adjustment. So, and again, like I don't have Dolagala. He's not even a top 20 quarterback in my mind, right? So, like I'm not high on Dolagala, and I still think this is a huge adjustment. Dolagala is a quarterback that they were praising him at halftime. His highlight package was handing the ball off, and apparently he has an issue throwing deep. So I think it's a huge adjustment. And when I was writing my notes for this, I said, hey, this is probably a CFL power ranking play too, because they're so down on the Bombers. They still are. And I go and check these power rankings, and I can't find them because Nathan Rourke's been signed. So I was thinking if this was going to happen, this could be a fade opportunity for the rest of the season, just because he's been hyped up to like some godlike figure. Hey, he's a great quarterback. I was hoping he'd have success down south as well. But you have like Kirk Cousins tosses him the ball, and it's reported like they're throwing catch on the sidelines. Nathan Rourke catching passes from Kirk Cousins. But like this line's only moved 3 points, and Moj has reported that Rick Campbell's gonna give him the first team reps tomorrow in practice. Farhan says it's likely he's gonna start. Got a 22nd best quarterback in the league, and you could play a rusty best or second best in the league quarterback. You have to go for it. So this has only moved 3 points. I still like it where it is right now, +1 with little juice. I think they should be favored by at least a field goal now, playing at home with Rourke. So I don't think the line is adjusted, and you were mentioning the totals before we came on here too. This was like 46, 47 before the news, and now it's still only at 48.5 in some places. So
Yeah.
is Dolagala going to move the ball better than Rourke? Of course not. So there needs to be some sort of adjustment on that end too. 3 points to the line. I think I don't know how much they traditionally move for totals. That's more for you to tell me. But I think that could be an opportunity as well, taking the over, whatever it is right now.
Great stuff. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the stuff you just said there. And I love that you mentioned about going to look at your power rankings, go to look at the CFL, going to look at these websites, and you're like, holy shit.
They're not actual power. These are CFL power rankings. Those are different
Exactly.
than power
Yeah.
rankings.
If we want to really call them that,
Yeah.
But I'm happy you kind of segued me in because you did a great job covering the side there. And this is what I'll say. I feel like it's been really fun being contrarian sometimes in the CFL this year. And the past 2 weeks, you and I have had a lot of success being on some teams that maybe the most recent week they didn't look great, and now we're betting on them to look good, or different examples like that. And so to me, a lot of times the contrarian opinion would be I wait for the number to go up and bet against it. But to what you just said there, I agree with you completely. It hasn't gone up enough, hasn't changed enough on either the side and the total. They haven't made enough adjustments. So I think that if we're talking on game day, BC, their number is going to be way different than it is right now, which is why I understand you wanted to start with this game, because of course it's going to be a popular play, right? And that always is worrisome. But here's the thing. A popular play People don't like to always be on the public side, but here's what you do. You get the best of the number. And that's what we're trying to do. So if you and I are sitting here talking +1.5, +1, and you've got people on game day betting into a -2.5, well, we might be on the side a lot of people are on, but at least we got the best of the number. So I'll throw it back to you. How high do you think this number could get? Because I think we're going to see a flip. We have to see a flip. When all this Nathan Rourke noise comes out, Sharps, public, whoever there is really betting the CFL are going to want to be on Rourke at home. I think that it's not really contrarian, and it's more so like we're going to be on the side of a lot of people, but it's all about getting the best of the number, right?
Well, you had a 10-point move from VA to Dolegala. I don't like nothing makes sense, right? But you're not going to get that. If it's 10 points, you're going to be BC by a touchdown. I don't think so. I think this could go to 3 though. And if it goes to 3, I'm going to have to take the Bombers just so I can go watch the game and hope both teams have fun with enough Lions +3, 3.5, and some money line as well at 140. Even right now, 105 on a few sites. And what's it at the official TSN book here? 102. I think there's still a lot of value there. 3-point adjustment from Dolegala to Rourke. I don't care if he's rusty. Hey, he's been throwing catch with Kirk Cousins. Everybody knows, right? So I think anything over Dolegala, anybody should be a 3-point upgrade at least. So I think this line's still moving, and maybe through 3 you get some resistance. But like, this news doesn't affect the lines as quickly as it would in the NFL. So Moj just posted that, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago, that he's going to take the first team reps. There's going to be plenty of media there tomorrow around noon in Surrey at the practice facility. So I think once that is shown, once people see him throwing a football in a Lions uniform, I think this line's going to move even more. So I think there's still great value here, even at like a pick where it's at right now for Lions +1.
Yeah, I just watched the Lions go from +1.5 to +1 to pick to -1 in the last 35 minutes, Bobby. So
Yeah.
the green book is showing -1 right now, -115 on the money line. 48.5 being the total, and kind of the point where I was going is that I don't think there's enough adjustment there on the total. So I feel like if you don't want to be involved in the side, and to use the expression you use, I would like to watch both teams have fun here. I can just bet the over. And I keep on talking about how there is such a downgrade from QB1 to QB2. I look at that BC game that they played against the Elks. I mean, the Elks scored 33 on that defense. That has nothing to do with Dolegala, right? Nothing to do with Dolegala. And when you look at some of the drop passes, look at some of the penalties, that game should have absolutely flown over the total. And the funny thing is, where that total landed was a matter of what number you got, which is always interesting in the CFL. If you got 48.5, 48, 49, 49.5. But yeah, I think the over is the play here, because I take a look at this BC defense. They allow 33 against the Elks, 25 against the Bombers last time out, 25 against the Stamps, 20 against the Rough Riders with Shea Patterson, 28 against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This, to me, is a defense that used to be intimidating, that was known to have a great pass rush, and they haven't really had that recently. So it goes to show, number one, what big play VA means to this team. And number two, really, is this defense as strong if they can't put up 30 points on the board? And it's way easier to have a good defense if you know your offense is putting up that many points. So over 48.5 for me. This potentially could be one of those games where I do double up and play the side and the total. But I'm right there with you. And I love the tweet that you said. I think it was yesterday or the day before. We scheduled this show to be on Tuesday afternoons for a reason, for everybody out there. And hopefully it's for us to be on the right side and sit back and watch these numbers change all week long. So over for me and BC. And for everybody out there watching, we got quite a few viewers here with us right now. Bobby mentioned, and you guys can make sure to follow Bobby on X. You can see his handle right there. If it gets really high, 3.5 especially, you always throw those percentages. How many games in the CFL end within a field goal? It might be worth to get that nice middle, eh, Bobby?
Yeah, and it's about 22%, same as the NFL. So the 1 point is worth a little more in the CFL, but at the end of the day, that 3 points still a key number. And another thing about your total I'd mention is Winnipeg put up 25 on him with 6 field goals. So I think it was six, maybe, I don't know. Lots of field goals these days in the CFL. So if they could just convert a few of those, like I don't think either team is going to have a problem scoring, especially Winnipeg. But I think with Rourke, there's a good chance the Lions can put up at least the 20 to push this one over.
All right. Should we continue in reverse order, or should we go back to the start of the week? What do you think?
Oh, it's up to you. You're the pro here, not me.
Let's circle back to Ottawa. We'll circle back to Ottawa and Calgary. We're now seeing 3 and the hook here. Jeremiah Masoli being the starting quarterback for the Red Blacks, but it makes you wonder here. Oh, actually, sorry. I'm going to go backwards because I know I'm going to forget this. I wanted to mention one thing. Winnipeg 1-8. That's their over-under record. And I've been coming on the show every week, and every show I do talking about how, if you don't want to bet on this team or you don't want to bet against this team, just take the unders. That changes to me from with the revenge standpoint, with Nathan Rourke, with the bye week. I think that will change. So for everybody out there that's been following me on the Winnipeg under train, it's going to change. I think this is the week it does change. So I know I'm going to hear a lot from people saying I'm kind of switching up because a couple days ago I did say I do like that under again for the look ahead. I have to admit the Nathan Rourke announcement does change things for me. All right, 3.5 favorites here for Calgary. They're a team overall that has had success ATS, 6-3 ATS altogether, 4-0 ATS at home. Bobby, here's what I keep saying about this Calgary team, though, and I'm not sure where you stand on this game, but I keep saying when they had this great ATS run, they weren't laying points nearly as much. They weren't laying 3.5. They were getting points. So when you look at ATS covers, I love looking at ATS point spread ranges because, sure, a team might be good as in 1 to 3 point dogs or 1 to 6 point dogs. How are they when they're favorited? And that's my big question about Calgary. So I've heard a lot of different views about this game. I'm curious what you think.
So before we talk about this game, we have to talk about that last Red Blacks game.
Okay.
And the good news is the CFL already hates me, so I'm not worried about getting on their list. Like they're shitting on our face and telling us chocolate here. The command center couldn't be any more blatant than it has been. Ottawa won that game 19-13 in overtime. We had a coach's challenge, which I think is ridiculous that you can challenge under the 3-minute warning. Looked like a clean play. Hey, who cares? Command center overturns it. Great. Then what? 10 minutes later, the Riders win the game. 22-19 with a fumble. Everybody's shaking on the field. Command center reviews it though. Hey, let's keep going. So they have this stupid camera during the broadcast. It's the only camera in the world that still can't pick up sound for some reason. It seems like they're being a little too transparent. They're showing us stuff that we never wanted to see. They're suspending a player for making $100 parlay, acting like they're cracking down on gambling here. But I think like there's a big issue here because like, hey, there's a reason we have this show now, because now you can actually put some serious money down on the CFL. And if you're putting serious money down, you should have a serious league. And like right now, the league's a joke. You can't take it seriously. You've got the command center intervening on almost every important play when they never really did before. You've got random fans on the sidelines. You've got an MLP whose suspension is over, and you don't even know if he's going to play next week because they haven't actually said it's over or not. You've got the worst airline in the world coming on as a sponsor. Let's just throw that in too. So like, there's nothing serious about this league. I think the integrity should be put into question. These aren't $7 bet Regal bets or I don't know if anybody's still betting cool bet, $40 limits, stuff like that. Like there's real money you can get down, and it's something that should be looked into. And just because you're showing us a silent shot of the command center, it doesn't really help. It doesn't really show that there's anything actually going on. Aussie Rules does this. and you can hear what they're saying. You can hear what they're saying the whole time. So at least do that. Like they're making it a little too obvious. They think, hey, if we can throw a shot on TV, we suspend a player for a stupid parlay, then we're really cracking down on it. We're taking it seriously. They're not. Nobody in the CFL, from what I can see, knows anything about gambling, and I think there's a real problem here. And I think this should be something that should be looked at. I don't think they're a serious league. They shouldn't be allowing us to bet this kind of money. It's too bad for people like you who don't have the ins like others would, and we're trying to win at a game, and maybe it's rigged. Who knows?
It's tough. It's tough because you know what? That's a game where you and I were on different sides, and I couldn't agree with you more with everything you said. Because, look, I was celebrating when I saw the coach just like so happily run to the sideline, stomp down, and whip that red flag onto the field. But then I'm happy that you can agree with me as well that there should never be a player from the losing team, so to speak, in the locker room changing their clothes, and yet he gets called back onto the field to continue playing. So here's my biggest issue, and this kind of, in my opinion, correlates a little bit to other leagues as well about reviews and everything. Even I'll go as far as saying robot umpires in the MLB. Just get the call right. But here's my biggest issue. With the pass interference call and with the roughing the passer call, every replay I saw, Bobby, there's a referee right there, right in front of the play. Like, if the roughing the passer can't be seen by the referees that get paid to do that job, and they would probably call it in the first quarter if they saw it, then why can somebody that's somewhere else in a different location, behind a computer screen, make that call? That's my only issue. So there's the fine line balance, and it really depends on what kind of person and fan you are, and better, I guess, you want the right call to be made. But imagine if they could do that all game, not just in the final handful of minutes. Imagine if in the first quarter, these guys are going off, they're sending the punt team on, and they're like, hold on. We have to go to this room where you can't hear anything and find out if that was pass interference or not. We'd have a 5-hour football game if we were going to the silent room to review every play that happened. That's what bothers me the most. And real quick, I think that was ridiculous about the guy on the sideline. They have to really stomp down on credentials, making sure who's out there. I'm a big believer, even though when I first got a chance to be in a press box, it was for a junior team here in Halifax. I'm a big believer in professionalism. If you're in the press box, you aren't a fan. If you're representing the home team, you interview the home team. I'm sure you are hoping for their success, but it doesn't mean you're a fan. It doesn't mean you can talk smack to the home team, the away team. Doesn't matter who you are neutral. So that stuff bothered me completely. All right, we got to show some love to Tommy here. Tommy and Nick have both been commenting on our shows. They've both been showing love. I love this one here. Took BC plus 155 last night. He didn't even bet it thinking it was going to be Rourke, and he still got a good number. You got to love that.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was a good play with Dolagala. I like that number at Dolagala. If I just, I don't know, got to it an hour earlier, then I'd have, I think I got it 140 or something like that. But like I like the Lions regardless of who's playing this week at that old number. So new number now is good. But it's nice to see me and Tommy Unders on the same page again.
Nick says he likes the over also in BC, and he also says, in my opinion, Masoli is less effective than Crum. Okay, so
we haven't even talked about this game yet.
So let's get to it. Let's get to it. So what do you think? I mean, did the Calgary Stampeders at this point in time in the season deserve to be 3.5-point favorites at home against Ottawa?
At 3.5, no. The look ahead here was 1.5. Without Drew Brown, I think these are the same old Red Blacks. With just a kick returner is the only chance of winning the game. Masoli is a slight downgrade. I do disagree with that last comment, though. Like I'd much rather have Masoli than Crum. Even with like he hasn't thrown a pass all year. He's thrown 10 passes in the last 2 years. But I still think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. I don't mind being proven wrong. I'm on Calgary right now. I didn't downgrade them after that last loss. A lot of big plays went against them, including a scoop 6 where they blew the whistle too soon again. So they can't even be consistent on their bad calls. They're letting things go, letting the command center review, and others they're blowing it down right away before they even get a chance. So I'm on the Stamps this week. I got him at a better number, 3.5. Like this is almost looking where I'd kind of play it back. Maybe if it gets to 4.5, I'd take the Red Blacks. I think Calgary should be favored, but I think a field goal is a little too much for a team like you said that hasn't really been favored all year. And I don't know, would they still have this number with Drew Brown starting? And then how much of a downgrade is Masoli? That's kind of what you have to determine. I don't think it's a big downgrade. If I'm going to pick anything at this new number, I'd probably be on the Red Blacks, taking the other side.
And I try not to be much of a storyline guy, even though I do get excited about some storylines. Masoli's had quite the career. He's had quite the different teams, different opportunities. He was on a good Hamilton team. He was injured, right? Isn't this a big game for him right now?
I don't know what it is for him. Like I was there for his last game in Hamilton when he was with the Red Blacks and went out. He lasted like 2 quarters or something. And when he got hurt, like everybody felt bad. And he's an old Hamilton guy too. So even the away fans like hated to see what's happening to him. He's collapsing on the sidelines a few weeks ago too. I don't know much about him. Like that, I don't want to prop up these quarterbacks like they're heroes or anything, because you see what happens with Chad Kelly. And hey, Masoli's had a 911 call against him too. If you used to listen to Jim Rome 15 years ago, he was pretty famous for a week there too. So I guess like you want good quarterbacks, and I think Masoli's a good quarterback. I don't want to see the Dola Gallas. I don't want to see the Taylor Powells. I don't want to see the Dustin Crumbs out there. It's hard enough. Look how hard of a time these teams have finding backup quarterbacks. So I'd like to see him do well. Like he's gone through enough the last 2 years. Let's hope he can get a full game in. But let's maybe just keep it close. And Jake Mayer at home probably has the ability to do that.
Right now, Ottawa still ranks the third best team as far as passing yards allowed per game. Last week when I was betting against them, I said that was a lot due to their weak schedule. But I mean, it's only a 9-man league, so how much can you really say a team has a weak schedule if I'm being completely honest? But I do think regression is due. However, I think regression's due for some of Calgary's play. I mean, Jake Mayer, I can never figure out what I think of this guy, Bobby. I really can't. I mean, one week I'm like, oh, I was so wrong about this guy. He's actually not bad. And the next week I'm like, there it is. That's what I thought, right? So I'm going to tell you what my gut tells me. And my gut is telling me to play the under 49.5 here. And unders alone in the CFL have been like bang your head against the wall material over the past few years and few weeks, especially because the fourth quarter, I think everybody says this. There's pretty much 5 quarters in the CFL. And Rob Rayleigh always says this, who I talk with quite a bit, that the fifth quarter is the final 3 minutes to go, because you're going to get a handful of points, a handful of possessions, and that goes to show how exciting the league is because of the 3 downs. But I do think the run game is going to be crucial for both teams. As much as I say it's a big storyline for Masoli, I do actually like Drew Brown, and I think it's a downgrade as far as the passing ability for Masoli, whatever that means. I think this game could be kind of a shocker of a stinker for the first game of the week. And you know, let's be honest here. It's not easy to get 50 points. It's not easy. And the number is 49.5. And I think a lot of it's baked into what we've seen early into the season with these two teams. So I'm going to say that my gut pick is under 49.5. Have not played this one yet. A lot of times there's been value on road teams when there's matchups like this between two teams that aren't that great, simply because they're still in the CFL. They're still putting something into the home field advantage here. Like if this was in Ottawa, you know, we'd be getting points on Calgary, and I'd be interested in betting Calgary, but we're not. It's in Calgary, and I'm interested in Ottawa. This is one of those examples where I don't want to bet the favorite. That's all there is to it for me.
Yeah, I think it's gone through that key number of 3, so I think Ottawa is the only play here. And to your point, it's hard to get 50 points. Yeah, like if you watch that Saskatchewan Ottawa game, that was brutal. And even with the command center adding on 10 points, they only got to 44. So and that was in over after 2 rounds of overtime too. So Ottawa doesn't seem like an over team. Calgary, who knows? Like you're flipping a coin, like you said with Jake Maier. I've stopped trying to figure him out. You just accept that there's some uncertainty when you have Jake Maier involved in a game.
There is some uncertainty, and also you don't know what the referees are going to do. That is for sure. All right, this next game, we've got Montreal and Saskatchewan. I'm going to hand this off to you for the most part. I'll give some thoughts on the total, but this is going to be my best bet of the week over at Wager Talk. So all of it, anybody interested in my pick on this game, you can go purchase it at the website. You can see the link below where Bobby is, wt.buzz/am. And we have a great deal going at the website right now where you get 7 days of all sports, all picks for the price of 3 days. So same price as if you were going to buy 3 days, you're going to get 7 days, guys. And that's not going to be just CFL. It's going to be MLB. It's going to be some UFC picks as well. And we did make some money in the NFL X. However, I really do pick my spots. And Bobby, I'm going to tell you, I feel like the overs might come to play this weekend in the NFL X. So we saw some lower scoring games week 1. But I do think we might get some more scoring in week 2. But the side play for me, guys, you can find that over at Wager Talk. I'll touch on the total in this one in a second. But what do you think about this game here, Sask and Montreal?
So the big question here, like we know Harris is coming back. So we can account for that. We know that Patterson's not going to be in. You've got Fajardo, which is the ultimate wild card here. You saw what happened when Alexander had a good game. He's all of a sudden he wants to be on the field again. But you've got two kind of contradicting things working against each other. You've got Cody Fajardo, who doesn't want to miss playing in Regina for the first time since he was kind of run out of town there. But you've also got Cody Fajardo wanting to prove that last year wasn't a fluke and the Alouettes can win the Grey Cup again. So hearing what Shinetti reported on the sidelines the other day during the game, he said that it's more likely Fajardo comes back next week. Practice started an hour ago. I mentioned Alexander isn't there, but it was a personal day for him, and he's expected to play this week. So I think the wrong team is favored here. I like the Riders with Harris coming back. 2.5 dogs like at home. And like with Harris back, like there's belief in this team again, right? They've still got a beat up O-line. They've still got some concerns on the D-line. But the upgrade from Patterson to Harris is quite significant, in my opinion. So I like the Riders here. I like it at the number right now, 2.5. Even some money line sprinkle as well. Even if Fajardo comes back, I think this game should be closer to a pick. So if Fajardo comes back, he's rushing back most likely. So you're not going to get a full 100% out of him. At the end of the day, you just have to assume Alexander is going to play, Harris is going to play. There's no reason Saskatchewan shouldn't be favored, at least slight favorites at home for this game.
And I always say that Saskatchewan is one of those places that I do kind of appreciate as a home field advantage. I a lot of the places, a lot of these home teams, I'm looking at you, Argos, okay? I don't really respect their home field advantage. Some of these teams, I don't respect it. I will say Saskatchewan definitely does have that edge. But a lot of people in the NFL world will say, bet the lowest totals under and the highest totals over, and you can have some success that way. Well, this is the highest total on the board this week, and I like the points. And one thing I really do like is the fact that they did not rush Trevor Harris back. You called it. You were right on a week-to-week basis about Trevor Harris and the patience they had with him. And I think that just what he brings to the field is his decision-making. That's one thing I'm really impressed with Trevor is that he's not – I respect a quarterback that will throw the ball away. I respect a guy that will check it down to his running back if he has to. I respect someone that will make the right play, even if it isn't always the most exciting play. That's what Trevor Harris seems to do. If we are thinking it will be Davis Alexander, the guy's been serviceable. That's the word I will use for him. He has not made mistakes. And I think that you got to tip your hat to the coaching staff as well for setting him up for success, not asking him to do much more than he's capable of. And he has made some big throws. But when it comes down to it, we're talking from a strict talent standpoint. There's a lot of receivers that can make plays on the Alouettes. Let's not forget about Walter Fletcher as well. Some of these runs, he turns an 8-yard run into an 18-yard run just by dodging one tackle. 51.5, it's a high total. I just was saying it's hard to get to 50 in the other game we were talking about. Well, these two teams are a bit different than Calgary and Ottawa, I would say, going head to head. So I have more faith in these teams getting to 52 than I do with Ottawa and Calgary getting to 50. So I do like the over. You can get my side play at Wager Talk, and that deal at the bottom of your screen that you can see, guys. Get 7 days for the price of 3. You're saving $30. Originally $99. For 7 days, you're going to get it for the price of 3 days. Davis Alexander, I mean, how about him? The play that we've seen from him, someone that do you think he'll be on the Alouettes next year, or he'll be just the backup moving forward, Bobby?
Well, now that we've got Rourke in the mix, I think VA is going to stick around at least for this season. Like, it's his team still. Whether he's going to be starting the rest of the way, I don't think the Lions are going to cut him loose. So then you're looking at what team is looking to look for quarterbacks. But I think Alexander, he's on the borderline of being a top 10 CFL quarterback. It's good to see that finally they found one. We don't need to keep recycling the Mason Fines or the Jarrett Daggies, these kind of guys that we already know what they are, right? So I think Alexander's been a pleasant surprise for the Alouettes, especially getting them through this stretch without Fajardo. And who knows? It depends on his contract, but I don't know who's really going to give up their starting spot. Maybe is Calgary going to be looking for a new quarterback? Hamilton seems like they might. There's no way they're going to take Taylor Powell into next year. But other than that, I'm not sure who is actually looking for a number one. And maybe a couple of years as a good number two, like Drew Brown did the last few years, is what Alexander needs until he can finally pick his spot instead of just trying to take any spot.
And he is young. So he's got time to make a name for himself. Like you said, I'm just happy we're not seeing the recycling of the same QBs over and over again. All right, last game here, Edmonton, Hamilton, current line +2. The last time these two teams met was in Edmonton. And, we saw Hamilton get the job done. What do you think happens here?
So this is what I mentioned off the start here. We've got Taylor Powell named starting quarterback like 2 minutes after the game ended. And I said, hey, Milanovic has been my number one situational decision coach in the CFL. He always seems to make the right situational decision. And I posted when it happened the other day when he yanked Bo Levi out. I didn't realize it's even more impressive that he doesn't have eyeballs, because he thinks that Taylor Powell is a better quarterback than Bo Levi Mitchell. And that's just not the case. This isn't. You've already heard people say, oh, this is like MBT going to Trey Ford. No, they're kind of similar to the spread here. Bo Levi to Taylor Powell is very different. So I think Edmonton should be getting at least a field goal in this game. And I'm on the Elks for the third game of the week.
All right. This Elks team right now, the best part about the CFL is that if you have a winless record through a handful of weeks, well, win a few games in a row, and all of a sudden you're back in the mix for the playoff hunt. That's what this Elks team looking to do. You talked about it off the get-go, and I kind of gave my 2 cents about the Trey Ford situation. You got to be able to throw the ball away. I got a real big kick out of the interview at halftime. I can't remember which player it was, but I'm sure you saw it when they asked, hey, what's the difference between with Macbeth out there versus Trey Ford? The guy's like, well, we know Mac is going to just sit in the pocket. He's going to just stand there in the pocket, and we know Trey's going to get on the move. It's like, yeah, that's what we all know too. The guys watching at home, we know that as well. But I like that with Macbeth, if he can make the right play and not be too complicated, he's very, very accurate. But the thing is, and I got to give credit to Jeff, who I do the show with on Mondays, he made a point to say that Trey Ford opens up the run game for the team, which is true because he can escape the pocket, so it constantly keeps teams guessing. I've been the most impressed by Edmonton's run game as of late. I gotta say, I agree with you. I think that right now this is a Hamilton team you want to bet against. I'm excited that I was on them against Toronto and I was on them against Edmonton the last time they played, but I don't know when the next time I'm going to bet on the Hamilton Tiger Cats will be, at least in these numbers. So I'm right there with you. Let's ride this Edmonton team. Hopefully we can have success. Before we head out, Tommy says Masoli was good in 2009 at Oregon. until Mariota showed up. He also says that every play looks like pass interference in slow motion. And that's really the issue, Tommy, that I have is that, you know, if the NHL did every play and replay, we'd probably be able to catch several high sticks, a cross check, a tripping, and everything. But that's why the referees are paid to go out there and do their job. Any comments before we head out here, Bobby?
No, I like you said, I agree with you. I think Hamilton is like, you just stay away from them at this point. I have them as the worst team in the league by a lot now. They've had these must-win games and they've laid eggs for most of them. So I think the season's over for them. I think you can see that in the starting quarterback being named like a minute after the first game ends. They're a no-go zone for me the rest of the way.
They are a no-go, and especially with these numbers at this point, it's hard to say this, but Edmonton looks a hell of a lot like a different team than they were the last time these teams met. And you have to take it into account. Clearly, the bookmakers haven't, and we'll try and make some money with it. Guys, a lot of you here watching on X. I got a handful of guys on YouTube. Do us a favor, if you're watching on X, hit the retweet button or the repost or whatever Elon's calling it these days. Spread the video around. We've had a really successful handful of weeks here in a row. I'm on a 7-0-1 run over at wagertalk.com. I didn't end up getting there with Edmonton. I could have been an 8-0-1 run, but I didn't get there with Edmonton. That was a free play on Sunday, but we're seeing the board really well. Bobby's making money. He's tweeting out all of his picks over on his handle. You can see right there on his side of the page. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time on Coast to Coast.